the key thing for when you're looking in that particular market, and in fact for any particular market, when you've got the likes of the notifiable data breach legislation here in Australia, and also GDPR in the UK, and anybody with a, for example, that has a connection to the UK has to comply with the UK regulations, is the fact that it's very difficult or next to near impossible and probably very dangerous to send any kind of financial information where you've got personal details attached, specifically the tax file number information. So if you send that via an email, you're increasing your risk of breaching the act significantly. So what you'll need to look at from a document management perspective is the ability for the information that you have on your system that pertains to the client to be able to get that information to the client in a secure manner. Now, in a secure manner, typically means going through a portal where the client has to log in with a series of credentials. They get access to your system, and then you publish the documents that you want them to see so that they can download, electronically sign, and return to you. Putting that on email is basically like a river. You see the bears in Canada where they're catching the salmon, just grabbing in and reaching out and pulling out a salmon. When you're sending PDF documents through an email system, the risk is that someone can grab those documents, and that then sets off the whole GDPR/notifiable data breach in train. Portals basically are the cure in inverted commas for that. So for any firm looking at a document management system below, for say 25 users or less, the automatic thing you should have as part and parcel of that is a portal, or portal functionality.
Now, GDPR and notifiable data breaches are now a fact of life. How prepared are accountants to handle these privacy issues nowadays?
Look, I think there's a high level of awareness across the profession, but I'm not sure that the call to action has necessarily been met with the responses that it actually needs to have been met with. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example, and I've used this example on a couple of other interviews that I had recently, and it was I went to they were about a 40-seat firm, so a 4 or 5 partner firm, and they asked me, can you recommend a portal? And I said, okay, well, what portals have you looked at? And they said, oh, we've looked at 3 portals, but they only do about 90% of what we want. I went, okay, so what does your current portal do? Oh, you see, we don't have a portal, so that's why we asked you to come in to talk portals. And I said, guys, just buy a portal, because A, it's going to secure the documents that you're sending through to your clients, and B, it does 90% more of what your current portal does. And C, you're going to learn a lot about portals, and if in 2 years' time you need to change portals, you change your portal. But you'd be surprised as to how much the vendor will work with you to fix the 10% that you need to use within that portal. And the expression that I use is that the old the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. You actually have to start the journey, and I think the accounting profession, and this is why we love them, is very risk averse. So it's the software in their mind has to be 100%, because that's the message that they give to their clients. Come to me and I will get everything right. The books will balance. It'll be black. It'll be red. That scenarios. But when it comes to software, accounting firms have to actually take the risk that the software may only suit 90% of what they actually require to do, and that's the key thing. But they have to get on that journey instead of waiting for the perfect piece of software, which will never is never available.
Of course, that's such a truism. Alan, been marvelous. Is there any final remarks you'd like to make?
Oh, look, it's particularly the notifiable data breaches, I would encourage anybody in that scenario just to do their homework. Be skeptical. I mean, this is where you absolutely have to play devil's advocate in the sense of if the salesman tells you that it does everything, yeah, pretty much guaranteed that it doesn't. So don't believe everything that a product vendor will tell you, because invariably they're not telling you the whole thing. So do your research across numerous vendors, but do it more on a contextual level. So what I mean by that is that talk to 3 vendors, learn what they think about the other vendors, what they do well, what they don't do well, but don't get into the content. Don't go and do a feature comparison, because you will never get out of the feature comparison space. And that is just absolutely going to waste your time. So to give an example of that parallel of that firm, when they 4 of the 5 partners saw a portal that they really liked, but because the one partner wasn't there, they have to get the vendor back in again to do the presentation all over again. So 4 partners are going to be completely bored. And the 5th partner is he might actually say, no, I don't like it. Or he may actually say, yes, he will. But what they've done is, for a portal that is, in the scheme of things, relatively cheap, they have wasted, many dozens of hours of billable time. And so this is I guess one of the frustrations that I have with firms in general, is that it's a case of penny wise, pound foolish. And so there's absolutely the need to get advice that will nail. If you have a problem, talk to someone who can identify what that problem is, and then give you a series of solutions to which you say, look, this one's good, this one's pretty good, but watch out for that. And that one is, I would eliminate that because it's not a suitable fit for your organization. Talk to people who can do stuff like that. So that would be my key advice.
Alan, thank you. Now tell the listeners how they can connect with you online.
Sure. Well, my website is Practice Connections. So that's all as it's written. No funny X's or silent Q's in there. So it's PRACTICE connections.com.au. I am on LinkedIn. I encourage you. I write a lot of postings on LinkedIn, and that's just simply Alan Fitzgerald. So if you Google Alan Fitzgerald, it's a handsome chap with a beard and a blue jacket will come up, and that's ALAN Fitzgerald. And I'm also on Twitter. So that's at Prac Connect. So PRACCONNECT, and on Twitter. But if you just Google me on that, I'll come up as well. All my contact details are on LinkedIn.
Alan, thank you very much for your time, your insight, and your expertise. It's been a delight.
No, absolute pleasure.